Okay, so let's put you in the shoes of a Canadian or American. We have a lot of listeners in the States too. Let's just say a North American contractor, and let's say they build homes. They're growing their business. They've got a great brand. They've got a great team. Their customers love them. It's not perfect, but they've got a good little entity developing. At what stage in their growth do you think they need to become quite serious and quite intentional about investing outside of their familiar business, about diversification, about all the stuff that we're talking about? And I'm not asking for this in terms of like a time frame, because it's different for every business owner. It's more a question about maybe the size of the business, the sophistication level of the owner, the net profit, like the free cash flow they're able to build within that organism. Do you have any commentary around when is the right time to really kind of dive into this world with a bit more focus?
So let me get really positive, right? You know, where we are demographically speaking is we're really on the cusp of a secular bull market in home building in the United States. You've got migration from the coast going to the Arizona, Texas area, right? You've got millennials basically coming in the family formation years, right? So if you can survive this period of time, you are going to have a wonderful run into the next decade, right? Mm-hmm. So but this whole thing is about surviving the downturn so that you can take advantage of the upturn. And the upturn is going to be monstrous. Okay. I mean, this is generational, right? This is no different than the baby boomers in the 80s in terms of family formations, but the millennials invest completely differently, right? The millennials like Bitcoin, boomers like gold. Millennials, you know, they like different types of houses than the baby boomers that like McMansions, right? But in the United States, as opposed to Canada, we've got migration. So with the United States, with a diversified economy, you know, people are leaving California and New York and going to the South, right? And there's going to be a wonderful growth period there, right? So when I sit there and I say, you've got a wonderful runway in front of you, how do you take advantage of that? This is all about survival in a down market. That's what it is. It's about a survival, right? And then once you've survived, you're going to have an uptrend that's going to blow your doors off. Right. And I'm being sincere. Now, up here in Canada, it's a little bit different. Since the global financial crisis, we have relied way too much on real estate in this country. Right. And so it's not the same dynamic up here, right? We are 4 times more geared to real estate up here than in the United States, right? We do not have technology like we had in the last bull run in the 90s. We don't have that diversified economy anymore. That's not to say that the millennials aren't going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. What I'm just trying to say to you is that the economic growth in the United States is going to be so much more stronger and so much more diversified.
This is an interesting question. I wonder if you can comment on this. And I am not a sophisticated investor at all, Jim. So just explain this to me like I'm dumb. When it comes to this Canadian market that you're hinting at, it's become even as just a passive observer, it looks as though we pretend like we're the States. We sort of act like we're this big Goliath when we're not. And our economy, to some degree, your comment about real estate is not lost on me, has become very hollowed out. I mean, we don't make stuff, build stuff, innovate stuff the way that we did. And yet we talk, you know, I'm not going to get politically here, but we talk as though we do. Like, where are we right now in the global, in like the larger global story? This is a question about Canada.
We're delusional. We don't have the humility that we should have because we got lucky coming out of the global financial crisis.
How come? How did we get lucky?
Well, 2 things. First, the Canadian banks are very well managed.
Yeah.
The Canadian banks are one of the best managed institutions in the world. So this isn't about that. And 2, what you had is to save economic growth for the global economy, which people ignore, was the fact that China basically went from no debt to $51 trillion of debt in a matter of years to basically support the Belt Road Initiative and to support the urbanization of China, which is now blowing up in their face. Right. So China, so all of the commodities that we've had, right, all that whole trade of the urbanization of China, they've overbuilt and they pulled demand forward, and it's over. China is where Japan was coming out of the 1980s. They're going to go sideways for decades. That's not to say they're going to blow up. I'm just saying they've got massive amounts of debt and they've got overbuild in real estate. So when you think about Canada, what do we got?
Really expensive homes and not a ton else.
The thing that was very interesting about it is because the Canadian banks and how we are, and we did not blow up, Canada became a destination for wealthy people. And those types of wealthy people that are have significant amount of wealth and have no problem dropping, I don't know. You guys live in Vancouver. You got them all over the place. $5 million homes that sit empty.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, Canada becomes a destination for international capital, right? And we had that. So what we experienced, and I'm sitting here I was living in Washington, D.C. when all this was going down, right? And I'm sitting here going, if the Bank of Canada keeps raising rates, you guys have no clue about what a real estate bubble pop. Go talk to your U.S. listeners, right? They know what a real estate bubble is. We up here, we think Canada defies the laws of nature. And here's the last thing I say. If Canada blows up, okay, nobody cares. We are so small. We are so insignificant. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. And the other thing is everybody up here is a property developer. Let me be honest, right? Everybody's got 3 or 4 properties. Not you got, but everybody's doing it. And it was exactly the same. I lived in D.C. Everybody's got 4 or 5 properties, right? What happens? What happens on the washout? And so I'm just going through experience of what went down in the States. I lived in the 5th most affluent county in the United States. And it was stark what went through when the real estate market blew up in that county.
So I know you don't have a crystal ball, but are you of the mind that we could be headed into a situation like that here north of the border?
That's why I've been the only one up here for 18 months saying, get your money out of Canada.
Yeah.
I go on TV. I make everybody feel uncomfortable. And if when you come to Wellington, and this is what you get. But you know what? I view myself as a researcher. I have a PhD. It's my duty to sit there and say, dude, you keep smoking 4 packs a day, you're going to get cancer. And I'm sorry it makes you feel uncomfortable, right? I'm sorry.